the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, bringing you this week's CJ Cup Byron Nelson, all the way down in McKinney, Texas. It's going to be a great week. This show is always brought to you by DraftKings. Please use code FGD when signing up as a first-time depositor. We'd really appreciate that from you. We are, as always, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the Korean king, the king of the couch, the king of the cash games, Kenny Kim. What's cooking, Kenny?
Yeah, not king of the cash games this past week. The PGA Championship definitely crushed me, but I think it crushed a lot of people. Definitely not what we expected, sort of, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll talk more about that as it goes on for the show.
Yeah, it was a fantastic PGA Championship until kind of the very end again, when we haven't really had much majors come down to the wire lately. It's kind of been that frontline duel, and then someone just gets juggernaut mode in the back nine and kind of just runs away with it. So shout out to Aaron Rai, everyone's favorite Englishman, first time since who's the name? Jim Barnes, two-time winner of the PGA
1926, 1960.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Absurd stretch of non-Englishmen winning this golf tournament. So shout out to Aaron Rai and the whole Arana Mink situation there. I had a great week with that. Great week with the props, Kenny. I cashed big time from all the bets that I placed for placements. Xander top 20. Now it's 16 of 17 major top 20s. Plus 100. Like, what? That is just a weird, I will be going to the window with that every single time. Hideki Matsuyama at several points during the week, I had a top 40 bet. I had two of them, Hideki and Aaron Rai. They were both leading the tournament. I was like, I might have to start betting my top 40 bets to win these golf tournaments because they just outperforming their floor for me, it's crazy to see. So I was like sitting super chill because I had dead heats on those bets as well. So it was nice to have them at the top of the boards. Justin Rose, half the ladder cash there, coming in T10. So the tires paid in full, coming in big time there for Rosie, plus 430, and then the plus 200 top 20 as well. Justin Rose, Kenny, before we get into, we can chat about the Englishman that really should have won this tournament. Finished T10th. His rough proximity was over 100 feet this week. Anytime he hit it into the rough, it was the worst possible lie you could have had. It just behind a tree, in a divot, in like the worst patch of grass you could have found, and he somehow managed to finish T10 still. So he made insane pars.
If you watched his final, well, we couldn't watch his final round. If you were following his final round,
shot tracer, yeah,
the saves for par he made were ridiculous,
dude.
Like, he was making pars from all world pars from like places that I didn't even know existed on the course.
Yeah,
he was out there making pars. If he just could have straightened it out just a little bit from with ball striking perspective, he definitely had his chance. He was my best chance. I had a future on him at 60-1. He was my best chance. I also had 8 places. He needed one more birdie. He couldn't birdie 16, which pissed me off. To try and get that placement. Really shitty week. It's skunk week. Didn't win at all in DFS or in betting. Really, really poor week. It happens. We just move on and go forward. But now we're into these events where they're like, I forgot what events like the CJ Cup were like. We haven't had an event like this since before the Augusta. So it should be ramping in, getting back into these, not great fields, full cut, should be enjoyable, should be fun. But let's talk about Aaron Rai. People are probably going to look back at this and think it was sort of a dud because it was Rai who won, unless Aaron goes on some crazy heater and wins like 2 or 3 or 4 majors. I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? I didn't think he was going to win this past week. But people really, when they look back at this event, they need to give Aaron Rai his flowers, because only 3 times, the last 3 times, a golfer has gone 6 under in the last 10 holes of a major to win the major was Aaron Rai this past week. It was Cam back in 2022 and Jack Nicklaus in 1986 when he won his final major. Those are the last 3 times it happened. Like, what we saw was extremely rare. And if it was by a guy named Rory or a guy named Sheffield, I mean, shit, if it was a guy named Xander or Justin Thomas even, it would go down as one of the greatest back nines in the history of major championships. Like, I'm not even being, I'm not even being hyperbolic here. Like, it truly was one of the greatest final 10 holes of a major by a golfer in the history of all majors. Like, that's how good it was. And you throw in the fact that he shot -6 on those 10 holes on a course where -6 was leading the event after 54 holes.
Yeah.
One of the more impressive things I've ever seen. People are going to forget it in a month because of who it was, but they shouldn't. Because what we witnessed was history, was something that we rarely have ever seen in our lifetimes. And I guess just because it wasn't a big name, people aren't going to remember it. And again, if that makes sense, majors are majors. We remember the big names. But really, right now, we should be giving Aaron Rai all the flowers. What an incredible, incredible win. To come through in the clutch like that when he was 61 or 66 and putts inside of 10 feet for the week.
Yeah.
Like,
that's insane.
That's for what we saw. There were 123 putts in round 1. Right?
Yeah.
In just there was 170 total at the Masters. There was 120 in round 1.
Yeah.
I don't know the total amount, but I'm guessing it's over 300. 3 putts for the week. And this guy went 61 to 66 and putts inside 10 feet as the 141st ranked strokes gained putting guy.
Yeah.
On tour this season.
Shout out Myrtle Beach Classic, the springboard to major success. You fly to... Didn't Blades Brown have a free jet stream ticket to get from one place to the Amex, and it was the only way he could have got from a Corn Ferry tour? Like, the Myrtle Beach is career defining, and Aaron Rai, the next successor off of Myrtle's springboard that is providing there. You mentioned all of this stuff, all amazing stats, Kenny. It's just smothered in Greek yogurt, though. That is the problem. Like, that is what Aaron Rai is to me. At the end of the day, he's like really sour cream, but we're going to be politically correct and call him Greek yogurt because he's bored. It's so fitting that we're both rocking grout fits today. Like, we just straight up gray, and you got the Korean headband on. I've got, the golf nerd on because it's the Byron Nelson. It's my event. But Aaron Rai is just boring. He is just so damn boring. He's not good for any sort of hype there's nothing about him apart from the true underdog story. I mean, I guess it was fitting that it was like one in Philadelphia, like Pennsylvania, the heart and soul of blue collar dominance in America, like that is where Aaron Rai should have won. It's just no one wants to talk about this. The way he did it was highly impressive. He gained 6 strokes on the field in those 10 holes. That's literally how good it was. So it was some of the best golf we've seen. He made that putt from the same spot that Cam Smith 3-putted from, and Cam Smith hadn't 3-putted the whole week. Just tells you how hard that putt was, and he nailed that. He hit it 330 down 18. He outdrove Ludwig by 9 yards, just juiced to the tits with like adrenaline. I don't think he'll ever hit a drive like that again down the pipe, So all of that stuff's like amazing to talk about. But it's Aaron Rai that's doing it. It's the stagnant, static process to every single shot he does. It's always going to where he wants it to be. He was 9th in the field in green regulation rate. So Aaron Rai hit 74% of his greens. He's chipping once every 4. And, that's just kind of how it goes. But I loved it. Jesus, Cam Smith got in the mix.
Yeah.
I just out of nowhere, I'm just like aroused, just sitting there. I saw a little Cam love early on Thursday, and then it kind of shot up the leaderboard on Sunday. He's recently changed his coach who he's had his entire career. Now he's got I think Mark Blackburn or somebody, and he's Mark Brody. I don't know. I'm lying to you. New coach, and it's seeming like it's figuring its stuff out. I love watching Cam Smith play golf. It is so fun because he plays like us, but doesn't score remotely close to us. Like the way he just handles it. So I feel like I've spoken for a while, Kenny. You want to hand some PGA Championship? I got a lot to say about what happened this week.
Bitched about the course and stuff. I thought the course was fine. I mean, it wasn't your typical major setup. I mean, that's fine. Every now and then you throw something different out there. It was difficult. But it wasn't difficult in the way we normally see majors, where a lot of it has to do with ball striking, right? I mean, if you look, the top 10 ball strikers in the field, I think, what was it? There was some stat when it showed like there was only like a couple of the best ball strikers in the field finished in the top 10. There weren't many.
Aberg, Aaron Rai.
Yeah. I think
finished inside the top 10. Then it's all the way John Rahm, who was like ranked 20th.
Yeah.
Finished T2, Yeah. So I get it.
So it's a little bit different than what we normally see. Normally we see these events. It's the ball strikers. They go out, they perform well. They hit it close. They 2-putt for par and occasionally make a bird. That's what we normally see in majors, and that's what everyone's used to seeing. This was not that event. This was you get it close. You try and hit as many fairways as possible. You get it on the green and just make your par. Birdies were not easy to have. You couldn't get the balls close with the ball striking because of where the pins were located. And that's fine. I mean, it's not like we see this every major. Major should be a different test on occasion, and it was a different test. Now, what it did was it brought everyone together because, there weren't that many areas. You'd have to really, really struggle to get like doubles and triples a lot of the time, right? So it was bogeys and pars is what you saw. And then, the birdies were tough. And so at U.S. Opens, it's different because, that's what you expect. That's what you see. And still, for the most part, the ball strikers are the ones that perform well at the U.S. Open. This week, Rai struck the ball well, but I think he was the only one of the only top ball strikers that putted well, too. And that's really what got him the W. And good for him. He deserved it. Deserving champion. The way he played, what we saw at the end was exceptional. And he should be thought of as a deserving champion for the rest of his career. And who knows, maybe this springboards him into future, because I mean, the confidence he must have drawn on himself on those last 10 holes to really say, man, I could really do this. Like I'm as good as these guys, if not better. And just that little bit of, brain thought process in golf, that can lead to things, right? That can lead to things. So we'll see where he goes with this. And it's not like he was a garbage player before. I mean, he won on tour, no Donald Ross course. He's won 4 times on the DP World Tour. He took down Tommy and Rory and stuff in Dubai in the past, right? So, it's not like he was some scrub. It's not like he's Sean McKeel, right? Or something like that. He's a top 50 golfer in the world. I'm a top 25 golfer, top 20 golfer in the world now, probably. All right. Deserved it. And it was a fun event. There was a lot that could have happened on Sunday. Probably wasn't the best finish that we could have had with 79 million people within 4 strokes of the lead going into the event, going into the final round. But he did his thing. Kudos to him. Congrats to him. Deserved champion.
Yeah. A lot has been said about the golf course and how much emphasis is put on putting. But I went and deep dove a couple of the best rounds on Thursday and Friday and Aaron Rai's round on Sunday. 82% of birdies for all of the best rounds that shot 67 or better in the first 2 days came from the fairway. So it was a ball striking week, but it wasn't like consistent ball striking was going to help you. It was when you are in the fairway, you need to make the most of your opportunity to get it to a flag that's diabolical, but you have enough spin on your golf ball to put it in the right spot. So 82% of those, and that was including missed fairways on par fives. So your next shot's probably going to put you in a really nice spot. If you kind of include a fairway being hit on those par fives, was 88%, like nine of 10 birdies being made when you've touched the short grass, or had an easy opportunity to access the flag. The same thing with Cam Smith. He made all these birdies from the fairway and just kind of ground his way to pars when he wasn't in the fairway. So I think that was the overall way to get this golf course taken care of. And I thought it was going to be 13, 14 under par, well into the teens, scoring wise. I think everyone did. The weather just showed up out of nowhere. We just saw wind that came from who knows where. So it was a fun tournament. I was enjoying losing money watching the carnage because I needed birdies to fly. And these guys just got held in check. It was super exciting to watch. John Rahm with his first top five in a major event since going to Live. Shout out to him. Alex Smalley gets his first top 20 in a major, T2 at the PGA Championship. Justin Thomas now has his fourth major top five with a T4 backdoor. I think all of his PGA Championship top fives have come when he's teed off in the morning. And that's how he got it done. He drove the ball a lot better than he typically does, and he was neutral when it came to off the tee play. Yeah, but when he was in the middle of the fairway, he did well. Ludwig lost strokes putting. He now has his first non-Masters top five, T4. Shout out to Ludwig over there. Doesn't handle the moment. Kenny, we have to chat about Ludwig now. It's like over and over again, he's just deer in the headlights,
Yeah, I mean, he was even par, one over until the very end, and then birdie like 2 or 3 in a row towards the back end or something like that. I mean, you put yourself in contention, hopefully you learn it, or he becomes a Fleetwood. It's one of those two things. We'll see how he goes. He's still young. I mean, 26. He's not old. He's got some time. I mean, it's not like he's the only one that failed. I mean, Xander was in contention going into the final round. Rory was in contention going into the final round. Rahm was in contention going into the final round. They couldn't do what Rye did. And so,
yeah.
I mean, people were there. They just couldn't get the job done. Now, Rye, you talked about how he's boring, and so at least he's likable. I mean, the story is great. Of course, he comes from a working class family. The iron covers he used. Everyone's heard that story already now because he wanted to protect his clubs. His dad spent £1,000 on a set of clubs when he was a young kid, and that's basically like a lot of money for his family. And so he decided to make sure to keep these iron heads covered and stuff like that. And he gets a little ridicule about it, but I mean, the story behind it's
cool.
It's a good story, right? You don't really see that from a lot of these golfers. A lot of these guys lived, pretty easily growing up and stuff like that, right? That was not the case with him. So it makes him likable, unlike Garrick Higgo, who started the event. That made me almost irrationally angry. I hate being late. Okay. That's just one thing for me. For my business, if you're late, you're costing me money, right? Like in construction, I've created this thing where I've gotten so pissed off at people showing up 15, 30 minutes late. And it's sort of like a standard thing in construction where it seems like it's okay. So what I did with my company, was created these timesheets where they have to come in and sign in when they come in and clock what time each person of our subcontractors comes in, and you write down the time. Our super takes care of that, right? And when you look back at all the numbers on a 3-month job, right? If you're 10 minutes late every day, that's 2 days of work. That's 2 days that we're paying you that you didn't do anything, right? And so for me, I just hate being late. I don't like being late. So when he was late for the tee time, I just thought that was the craziest thing that I'd ever witnessed. How can you be late for a major? Now, there were things like Mike Kim said, it was a little bit strange since the putting green was right in between 1 and 10, the practice putting green. And so they'd hear the announcers for 10, and but they didn't go off at the same time. Like a lot of the time when they do off at 1 and 10, they go off all at 9 o'clock. They all go off at 9:10. They all go off at 9:20. This one was 9 o'clock and 9:05, right? So if you had if you started on 1 and you heard someone talk on the mic, that was probably for the 10th tee, and you'd think maybe you got 10 minutes, right? So okay, so I can get with that, but I mean, like, it still made me angry. I don't understand how it could have happened, and I put out a post about that, and I was shocked at how many people were like, it was just a minute. Like, maybe I'm old. You guys are a little bit younger than me. Like, do people your age and younger, like, not worry about being on time? Is that like not a thing anymore?
It's still a job. Like, I grew up the same way. Like, you have to. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. Like.
I don't. What about you, Byron? Like, I don't.
No, I agree. Like, it's a PJ major, like, and be on time. But I also see it from his side. I understand how having everyone
explain that.
I mean, just it was a clusterfuck because you got everyone going off of the exact same tee box. So it's 1 going off that way. Then you've got to clear off everyone that was watching 1, get them down the fairway, and then 10 goes off 5 minutes later. I think just being out of the way until it was your turn to go. Look, I'm not trying to justify
South African
I'm
bias.
not trying to justify any of the stuff that he did. It's all granted. He also did show up exactly at 18. Like, it was pretty close. But again, I'm not trying to justify this stuff. I'm just giving you his perspective. That's very likely the case. He's also from the coast. When you grow up on the coast in South Africa, look at what he looks like. Like, you are relaxed, you are laid back, chilled. Like, I understand that he missed the time, but in real world time, he was still going to not hold up the tee box whatsoever because he was there for when he needed to.
But the thing is, when they get to the box, they greet the other players, they shake hands with the caddies, they do stuff. You come 30 seconds late. I mean, I guess you just don't do that. And I think, that's a respect factor, in my opinion, right? You get there, you introduce yourself to your group, you introduce yourself to the other caddies, you shake their hands, tell them good luck. To me, okay. So here's the thing, like, okay, fine. I probably would have gotten over the fact that he was late. I mean, it pissed me the fuck off, but I probably would have gotten over it. I probably would have forgotten it the next day. If he just came out and was like, yeah, I'm a pretty laid back guy. I messed up. I should have gotten there, paid more attention. I was 30 seconds late, it's still late. I get it. Technically
unacceptable. But I'm sorry.
Because honestly, what John Rahm did in the first round, where he was angry and he chopped the big divot on a fake swing, and that divot hit a fucking volunteer in the face. Like, it wasn't like a small divot. It was like supposedly like a huge fucking
pelt,
a beaver tail. Yeah.
Smacked upside your face, right? That's way more egregious than what Higgo did, right? But what John did was he knew he fucked up immediately. He apologized profusely to the volunteer. Afterwards, during the press conference, he said how much of a moron he felt like, how bad it was, how embarrassing it was, how he shouldn't have done it, blah, blah, blah. No one even spoke about that the rest of the week. Like,
he got praised. He got praised for apologizing.
No one even mentioned that the rest of the week. When honestly, that was really fucked up. Right?
So funny.
That was really, 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 really fucked up. Okay. Way more than being 30 seconds late. That was way more fucked up. But the answer that Higgo gave, I just don't understand. He was like, I was really on time. What? I don't understand what that means. Like, how do you say you were technically on time?
Yeah, he said he was trying to look for a written rule of how many seconds you need to be. Like, bro, come on.
Like, here's the thing. Like, I was shocked at the comments on the post that I put. people giving him the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, what's 30 seconds? This shit like this happens. Does it really happen? When was the last time you heard a golfer get a 2-stroke penalty for showing up at a tee time late? Maybe it's happened and we just don't hear about it.
I think Lucas Glover missed his tee time entirely one time.
Okay, yeah, but probably because
he misunderstood. So that was a completely different situation. Yeah,
his wife probably smacked the shit out of him for putter the night before or something, and he had the bruise on his face, didn't want to come out, and show up on the first tee with a black guy from his wife, right? Well, like I don't understand like his reasoning. Like he bitched about it for 20 minutes signing a scorecard, and then like showed zero remorse. It basically acted like he did nothing wrong and didn't deserve the penalty. That's when I lost it on him.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's when I lost it. That's when I was
agree.
like, stupid motherfucker. I
I
can't root for him. I can't respect him. I can't do nothing because that shit is like, and I don't know, is it an age thing? Like he's Gen Z. Is that just a lot of people like that's the way Gen Z is? I don't paint broad strokes on people. But
27. 27 is that's when I had my shit together at 27. Like, you've got some time to get your stuff together. And it's not like if Aldrich went up and said this kind of stuff, that would be way more understandable.
Why?
He's 21. Like, you've been on tour forever. You're a millionaire. You've made millions of dollars. You've won multiple tournaments. It's just like, where's the PR guy? Where's his mom and dad or like a girlfriend or something that's like, you sound like a bit of a tool, dude. Like where there's just no accountability. I understand his caddy was yelling at him to get to the tee box and he still wasn't rushing in time because
think about just accountability. I said he disrespected the game, and I think he did. Because accountability is like one of the features, like the biggest like a feature of the game of golf and why it's so different than other sports. You don't have like referees calling the fouls for you, right? If you fuck up, if you make a mistake, you call that shit on your own. You take responsibility for your actions, right? Nobody else. You take responsibility for your own actions. And if something happens, you touch a blade of sand or you touch a little bit of sand, on the backswing, the ball moves when you address it. I mean, you call the penalty on yourself. And that's one of the great, great, great aspects of golf and why golf is such a great game, especially to learn and use different aspects of the game of golf in your life. Right?
Yeah.
It's one of the only sports where like, different aspects of the game can really affect your life positively if you apply that into your real life. And that's why golf is such a great game. And to me, this was extremely disrespectful of golf, of the game, because you're blaming everybody but yourself. That's the total opposite of what golf is. Like literally the total opposite of what golf is and what it should be. Especially for guys who have the ability to be where these guys are. Right? They should realize how much the game has meant to their lives to be in the situations that they are currently living well, lots of money, and stuff like that, playing a sport that they love, having a great lifestyle because of this game. And to me, it was a slap in the face. It was a slap in the face. Like maybe I'm taking it too serious. It's very fucking possible. But to me,
I get it. Yeah.
It disrespected the game. It disrespected the people that he was playing with that day. It disrespected the game. It disrespected the fans' intelligence. It disrespected all of that. And it's going to take me a lot to get over it. I don't know if I can ever root for him again. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll bet him and shit if it makes sense because, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But it was just a shitty fucking way to really put yourself out there in front of millions of people for the first time, because the majority of people don't know who Garrick Higgo is, right?
Especially
didn't
at a
know.
major
Guess who won
too.
What's up?
Especially at a major too, not just like random fucking tournament.
Like I cannot be the only one that feels this way.
No, I think everyone feels that way. I think the fact of the matter is that it's also such a split second situation. He was seconds late, like
He was 1 minute and 8 seconds late.
yeah. So
That's not second.
it's 68 seconds. It's not more than 100. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, Kenny, is
Here's the thing.
if
Let's
the person on the
go
tee box,
silent for 68 seconds and really see how long that is.
no, obviously,
That's long.
it is a long time. But if the guy in the tee box just is like, we'll just let this slide, because I understand there's a clusterfuck on the tee box here. This is a non-factor. It was that close to being fine that it just snowballed out of control. The moment he was given. So
I think maybe in the spirit of playing that round and that shot, then yes, maybe it is a non-factor. But I'm talking about the broad spectrum of the game of golf.
Yeah. Well, while you were talking about Higgo and what he was up to, I'm just thinking about what he looked like when he won at Corrales in 2025. He had a name of a city on his hat because he thought it was a cool looking hat. It wasn't sponsored. He's just a weirdo. Now he's
what he looks like, what he dresses like, don't mean shit to me. You can look like a fucking slob and still respect the game.
Yeah. He's also, you're wearing a Korean headband. He's my South African brother. And, I'm letting you take a dig at him as it's very valid. But, I'm not going to pile in on this, so.
It's understandable. I get that.
That's my take. It's like, I'm cool with your assessment there. I don't really have much more to say on that matter. So, trying to play some devil's advocate if I could. Rory was very disappointing to me. I thought that he
moved the 3-wood a lot on the back to try and hit fairways, and he's kept missing them. He should have just
every
kept
time.
Driver and
He started
a shorter club in his hand.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest drivers ever. And at the beginning of the week, he's like, "There's zero strategy to the situation. I'm just going to pound driver." Now he's fucking pulling 3-wood, and every time he pulled 3-wood, he missed the fairway and ended up making a bogey on a drivable par 4, and finished 4th. Playing like a complete knob. And I think I'm done with Rory, Kenny, because I don't even want to know betting wise. I think anytime I'm on him, I'm risking a full unit. Yeah, I landed up because I only had Justin Rose and Colin Morikawa at 40 and 50.
And he won
I had
the last tournament he played. Prior.
Rory.
Yeah, Rory. Didn't he? He didn't play anything.
Well, he sucked it up at Quail. He sucked at Quail on Saturday. So, I'm just done with it because I had the back withdrawal. I bet him 3 times last year. He won 3 times in that 6-week stretch. I wasn't on the 3 that he won. I'm just done. I can't time him up. I can't time his fucking ass up right now, and it's driving me insane. So I'm done with that. I'll be betting other people instead to lose that way. But yeah, that's my rant on Rory. It's just he's just a mental midget at times. I don't imagine, he could have won this golf tournament very easily and did not. So tough on him.
Was his
Scotty
worst
Scheffler
performance in forever? I think he lost almost 6 strokes putting. Scotty couldn't get it done. I'm really hoping that happens this week because I am not using it without Scotty Martin.
Yeah,
and I'm scared.
Yeah, there is. I think we'll get into it, but I'm going heavy on the T5s and the T10s and things like that. Just kind of the stuff that Scotty can only take one spot away from you. There's 4 other spots in the top 5 bets. So that's the way I'm kind of leaning into this, and it's working. I just need to, get a little lucky here and there with some stuff. So that's going to be a fun week, Kenny. Anything else happening in the world of golf? Just PGA Championship. Good week. Fun week. Lots of good stuff. No Speed Slam. Gotta wait till next year for the Grand Slam. Next up, it's Scotty Scheffler And I don't think is Phil still looking for a US Open, and is he even in the US Open? I don't know. But Scotty Scheffler would be up next for the next career Grand Slam of majors.
What a crazy thing about Phil? Like, it would have been a huge story. That's how bad Liv fucked him. Like, missing a major, and no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's none of our business. That's fine. But like, it's this day and age. Someone would have made it their business, more than likely, right?
Yeah. It's Phil Mickelson, dude.
Yeah, and it was just a little blurred before the event. He's not playing, and then no one really cared. It's a shame, because the man is one of the best golfers of our generation, and basically destroyed his legacy.
Destroyed. And same with Jon Rahm, was sliding down the same slippy slide that Phil Mickelson had gone down, and the blood started drying up halfway down and got stuck.
The opportunity to play himself out of that.
Yes. It's going to have to be through play.
No, Phil doesn't.
Yeah, Phil's toast in that department. Chris Goddard up with another top 10. Shout out him. Patrick Reed. Ben Griffin. Top 20 in a major now.
Play a little bit better.
Coming together. Slowly. Very slowly. But it's good to see him do that. I had to tweet out the wedding photo of the monkey for him to kind of... He was like plus 10. He was 10-1 versus Alex Fitzpatrick in round 1. I send out a tweet in case you're wondering why Ben Griffin's plus 980 versus Alex Fitzpatrick in his 3-ball, 4 holes into a major. He beat Fitzpatrick. So I like completely reverse mushed it just like that. Massive comeback. Massive comeback there. T18. Shout out Ben Griffin in that department. That's me for the week at the PGA Championship. A lot more to chat about, but let's get to what's going on at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson this week, Kenny Kim.
All right, so the PGA Tour heads back to Texas for the CJ Cup Byron Nelson Classic from TPC Craig Ranch. Seventh, I think it's like the 6th or 7th time the tour's played here. We've seen winning scores like -26, -25, -23, and of course -31 by Scotty last year. The course was a pushover each year during the first 2 rounds, with leader after round 1 at high single digits to low double digit under par, and the leader after round 2 at mid to high teens under par. The only thing that could really hold back the scoring in this course is the wind. There were some adjustments to the course a couple of years ago with the narrowing of the fairways, new bent grass greens. But looking at the forecast conditions, there looks to be like a decent amount of rain. And, last year with those changes, overall, even though Scotty scored -31, the overall scoring average was half a stroke higher than the previous years. So, maybe there was a little bit, but I mean, it's still not that much of a difference. And then you go ahead and it's like 2 strokes, right? Difference for a 4-day event. Now you throw in the fact that it's supposed to rain Wednesday and Thursday, making this course really, really soft. I mean, it's going to be a birdie fest again. No, I don't see how it's not going to be. I'm not worried about the little adjustments to the course and stuff like that. One thing is, I don't know exactly when the greens, I think they might have been redone this year, so maybe they're a little bit firmer. I don't know. Something we might have to keep an eye on as the week goes on, because new greens tend to grow firm and doesn't soften up as greens that have been in place for a long time. Something about the grass and the roots and stuff like that. I don't know agronomy, but it's for some reason like that. And so we'll see, but I think the rain is going to make that a moot point for this week. So TPC Craig Ranch is a 7,400 yard. It has dropped about 200 yards from last year. It's a 7,400 yard par 71 with 3 par 5s and 4 par 3s. The course used to be a par 72, but they shortened the old par 5 18th about 50 yards and made it a long par 4. Half of the par 4s are fairly long, measuring between 450 and 500 yards. These will be some of the most difficult holes on the course, along with the 3 par 3s over 200 yards. There are also a couple of, here's the thing about that. We look at the par 3 that was 260 yards this past week at Aronimink. It actually played harder when it was 107 in the
final pin location.
right?
And
So
wind.
like, yeah,
Like,
these guys can hit these 200 plus yards. You know, if the green's big and if it's soft, especially, you know, it makes it difficult, but it's not like crazy hard for these guys. There's also a couple of shorter par fours, which could be drivable. The par fives look to be gettable, with only one reaching the 570-yard mark. Off the tee, golfers are going to see generous rolling fairways with light surrounding rough. Though the rough has been up a little bit, like last year, it was like 3.5 inches. But it still didn't make much of a difference. So I would think it's somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 this year. There's some trees and a bunch of bunkers in play off the tee. Water is in play in about 13 holes, but we're not talking about like huge Florida-like ponds. A creek runs through the majority of the course, so golfers will have to really miss their spots to get wet. Also, the trees aren't that close to the edge of the fairways and are sporadic in nature, which leads me to believe the accuracy off the tee really doesn't play much of a huge part for success. I mean, of course, you want to hit as many fairways as possible, but it's not going to be death if you're like middle of the pack in driving accuracy for the week. One quirk to the fairways is the zoysia grass. It covers them. It's more prevalent in Australia and Asia and often leads to fires for those without experience on them. On courses on tour that have zoysia are Southwind and East Lake. On approaches, golfers will see above average size bent grass greens. Bunkers will be in play. But we will probably see a high green and regulation rate for the week unless the winds really, really do pick up. Green speeds look to be around 11.5 on the stimp. They tend to water this course a lot because of the heat. Again, it's going to rain too, so I would expect it to be soft. On overall, strong iron play from 150 to 200, high 200 plus, high birdie or better percentage, putt luck. Definitely going to be keys here. I don't think golfers with short game deficiencies will have too many issues this week with an elevated green and regulation, highly likely. What are you looking for in golf?
Yeah, you just mentioned there the green and regulation rate. We got like 2/3 of shots coming from 175 and beyond, and we had a green and regulation rate that was higher than tour average. These greens are very receptive. I don't know what the hell's happened since the renovation, so I've kind of reduced some course history down a little bit. Even at this golf course, though, we were checking out on Back Nine Bets on Sunday nights. We do like a recap and preview and deep dive these guys, and it doesn't seem like there's much course history at this golf course. If you've played well here before, it doesn't mean anything. Unless your name's KHD, you're winning it back-to-back and then just getting invited back every single time. But I just don't see that happening. Guys playing well, didn't really trend out that well coming in. Recent form didn't give you much. But again, this has been jumping around schedules. Is just the bitch boy. It just gets put wherever it needs to go. And that makes it hard to handicap in a weird way because it's not the rhythm of the lead up to this tournament's not there. But these are your boxes. If you are looking at anything you heard last week is the complete opposite, because you don't have to hit fairways this week that important. You're going to be hitting a lot of long irons. You barely get to hit any wedges this week. So it's totally, if your guy played poorly last week, don't worry about it. If he played great, good. That's how you need to look at results from the PGA Championship. And, not a lot of the guys playing this week are actually going to be playing in the PGA Championship because it's a shitty ass tournament. So let's get into some boxes going forward over here. I've got 6 boxes for y'all. And the first one starts off with easy scoring conditions. We're going to expect conditions to go well beneath par over here this week. If we take a look at this side of things, we filter on guys with the easiest scoring conditions. Scotty Scheffler, Johnny Kiefer, Neil Shipley, Chandler Blanchet, Rasmus Højgaard, Pearson Coody, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Chris Ventura, Mac Masner, Keita Nakajima, ADDC, and Chad Ramey, all doing their thing, gaining 1.1 strokes or more when conditions are easy, which means the scoring average is under 1.5 strokes under par per round. That is numero uno. Then I go to the micro model ranking to see exactly who's going to fit this golf course based off each specific key proximity. Maybe I can zoom in a bit for Kenny where I can see he's leaning in here. So we can have the top 10 just available on the screen. Maybe I can hide this a bit there and zoom in even more for us. There we go. Top 10 right there. Nice and easy to see. Micro model ranking. Scotty Scheffler, numero uno. No surprise there. Siwoo Kim, Pearson Coody, Rasmus Højgaard, Keith Mitchell, Thorbjorn Olesen, Michael Brennan, Brooks Koepka, Aaron Rai, not in this field anymore. Sorry, I'll get that out of there. Michael Thorbjornsen. And then number 11 would be Party Marty Doe. Zecheng Doe is your number 11 who takes Aaron Rai's spot there. So these guys grade out fantastically well for this golf course based off the key proximity areas, off of each different hole, how many times they're going to be hitting greens, all of that jazz. Then we just want to look. Usually it's good to have some good form. Apparently this golf course doesn't reward that as much, but here are your guys who are grading out quite nicely over the last 4 months in strokes gained-wise. Scotty Scheffler, Siwoo Kim, Brooks, Jordan Spieth, Bezzy, Mac Masner, Pearson Coody, Thorbjorn Olesen, Keith Mitchell, and Rasmus Højgaard are your top 10 in strokes gained over the last 4 months. And we took a look at some lead-in stats. We noticed there wasn't much course history. There wasn't much recent form to produce any sort of trends, but we did notice that everyone that played well here was decent to above average in strokes gained off the tee. So if you take a look at leaderboards, guys that are typically good drivers of the golf ball thrive at this golf course, and Michael Brennan and Scotty Scheffler are numero uno at this golf course for strokes gained off the tee. Cameron Champ next, Neil Shipley, Keith Mitchell, Pearson Coody, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Siwoo Kim, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Ryan Brem, all checking the top of the boxes. They're gaining 1.3 strokes or more projected wise. No, these are just power ratings. They're not strokes gained, but that's your top 11 guys in the strokes gained off the tee department. And then we want to take a look at guys that are just playing well. How often are they finishing top 5? How often are they finishing top 10? How often are they finishing top 20? Let's see what's going on here. And obviously Scotty Scheffler is well ahead of everyone because he's got a 27% win rate. And then the next best top 5 rate in this field is a ridiculous Siwoo Kim up 22%. You know, so Scotty Scheffler's winning more tournaments than Siwoo Kim is finishing inside the top 5, which is insane. So your guys that are finishing at the top of the leaderboards quite often, Trace Crow coming from the KFT, will ignore him. Scotty, Siwoo, Aaron Rai, Neil Shipley, Chandler Blanchet, ADDC, Pearson Coody, Johnny Kiefer, and John Parry. Seems like a lot of guys, Neil, Michael, John, those kind of names popping quite hard this week. Just, those Bible bashing names. Here's the top 10 model rankings for the micro model, plus all these other stats that you see at the top of the board here, some course history in the mix, some recent form, all of that jazz. Scotty, Siwoo, Coody, Rasmus Højgaard, Thorbjorn Olesen, Brooks, Keith Mitchell, Aaron Rai not in there, Andrew Putnam, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Mac Masner. Those are your top 10 guys for this week's model rankings. Those are your box checkers. Scotty Scheffler, Pearson Coody, check all 6 boxes, Kenny, this week. So interesting to note that Pearson Coody is up there. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler separates himself significantly in those situations, but it's a weird week. I think I'm leaning into strokes gained off the tee being a significant, tiebreaker or identifier for who's going to have success for me this week. Who are you betting this week? But before we get there, Kenny, let's hear a quick word from our partners.
Football season is right around the corner, and DraftKings is bringing you their biggest best ball contest ever. We're talking a massive $20 million in total prizes, making this the largest best ball tournament in DraftKings history. And right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving new DraftKings customers a can't-miss offer. Get 3 tickets to play best ball for free with your first deposit. That's right. Deposit once and score 3 shots at big cash prizes only on DraftKings. It's easy. Just draft your team once. No weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. All season long, every breakout star, every clutch play, and every touchdown counts towards your shot to win big. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and make your first deposit of $5 or more, and you'll score 3 tickets for your shot at massive cash prizes. That's 3 shots in DraftKings' biggest best ball contest ever without ever setting your lineup again. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable ticket rewards are site credits for NFL best ball contests only and expire 14 days after being issued. Terms, www.draftkings.com/promotions in 6/4/26 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, sponsored by DraftKings.
All right. Before we get to Kenny's bets, don't forget to let us know who's going to win this week in the comments below. Nobody guessed Aaron Rye last week, so that's tough luck. You missed out on a Model Maniac membership over there, but you guys have been reaching out to me when you've been cashing those bets, so let us know. The first person to comment who's going to win this week at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, gets a free month in the Model Maniac Patreon, all these tools, all that stuff that I've showed you available to you there. Kenny Kim, walk us through the bets for this week's CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, baby.
So, of course, we're worried about Scotty. Now, I'm just hoping, he hasn't had a win in a while. He's been close, and he putted really horribly this past week. I'm hoping the putting stays horrible. Of course, worried that he's going to win, but I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to go without Scotty Market for my bets this week. And I got a ton of them. I'll go through them quick. Lots of long shots. So we got a 10-man card this week. 10-man card for the week. It's still 8 units to win minimum 30. I'm staying within my budget, but just have a lot of long shots this week.
Yeah.
But the first one's not a long shot. The first 2 are not long shots. They're actually top of the board, guys. First one's going to be Siwoo Kim at 20-1 with 3 places. Siwoo's been a statistical darling. All season. And this week is no different. He's 4th in tee to green, 7th in ball striking, 14th in birdie or better percentage, and has great form from 150 to 200 and 200 plus. He's been close a few times this season. He has 6 top 6s in his last 15 events played. He has finished top 15 here 3 years in a row, including a runner-up in 2023. He enjoys easy conditions as he's gained over a stroke on the field in easy scoring conditions and has gained 1.75 strokes on the field against weak fields in his career. Next, it's going to be Brooks Koepka 35-1 with 3 places. I love these 3 place numbers for these 2 guys. Now, you worry about Brooks putting. Here's the thing. I think his floor is extremely hot this week. If he can get any type of putting going, he can win. The issue is that truly going to happen? I don't know. But I do think the floor is high. I think he's great for cash in DFS. And I can't live myself if I didn't bet him, at this event. Because outside of Scheffler, I think he should probably be the second favorite. Because ball striking has been so elite this year. He's close. He just needs to get the putting down. I'm hoping that it can happen this week. But here's the thing: if not, dude's still going to finish top 20 in my opinion. I would say, and I'm sort of leading towards the cash game cornerstone part of this in DFS. But that's one of the reasons I do like him in that aspect as well. Next, it's going to be Austin Eckroat at 60-1 with 8 places. He comes in number 7 in my model, 8th tee to green, 5th in stroke gain approach, 8th in stroke gain ball striking, 17th in birdie or better percentage. The last 24 rounds in this field, a couple of top 20s heading into the event, and a runner-up here in 2023. Next, Eric Cole, 60-1, 8 places. Coming off a top 10 at Myrtle, had a solid 5th place here last season. In the last 24 rounds, he's 7th in the field in birdie or better percentage. He gains nearly a stroke on the field throughout his career in very easy scoring conditions. Next, the second Korean on the board this week, it's going to be Tom Kim, 66-1 with 8 places. Had his best statistical performance at an event at Myrtle since the 2024 Travelers, as he gained 2.42 strokes total on the field. He's 7th in tee to green and 3rd in approach in his last 24 rounds in this field. Has a 17th here in the past. His game has been trending up the last month or so. Next, I can never pronounce his name. ADDC, Byron, pronounce his name for me.
Adrian Dumont de Chart.
There we go. 80-1, 8 places. The Big Shart. They're going to call him from now on. The Big Shart. 80-1, 8 places. Best finish so far this season was at a Texas event. at Houston. Has gained almost a stroke on the field in his career against weak fields. 5th in tee to green in the field in the last 24 rounds. Next, it's going to be Jonathan Vegas, 110-1 with 8 places. I'm going to let Byron speak on him because he sold me on this on X. So I'm going to go ahead and let Byron speak on Vegas.
Let's go, baby. So, yeah, Jonathan Vegas.
Oh, you're going to do it now?
Well, since you mentioned it, I mean, why not, you know? He's on your card. You might as well finish it up. He's got 2 top 13s in his 4 appearances at this golf course. He just finished 4th in strokes gained ball striking at the PGA Championship. 2nd in strokes gained tee to green at the PGA Championship. He's gained over half a stroke per round off the tee at this golf course in the 4 times he's played here. And he's super, super affordable, Kenny. What you got it 110-1?
With 8 places.
With 8 places, you know, there's 225-1 out there that we're dropping in Discords this morning. So he's a fantastic value, great course history. I know we mentioned it's not super sticky, but it doesn't hurt to have played well here in the past, especially with a couple things changing a little bit. So he's playing well. I mean, he lost almost 8 strokes putting last week. So maybe if he flips that around this week at a golf course he's played well at, we're looking good.
And one thing about this course that I didn't talk about in the course preview, Matt Gannon from Ship It had a really nice thread about this event and talking how you usually in these birdie barrage events, it's a lot of putting, right? But this one's a little bit different. It's a lot of exceptional tee to green play that has gotten the winners. Like every person that has won this event has been top 5 tee to green for the week that they won. I go follow him at Matt _ Gannon _ this thread about how he thinks tee to green is more important than people will think compared to putting for this week was really, really strong. So go check that out. Next on the betting card, it's going to be Hubbard at 110-1 with 8 places, coming off a playoff loss at Myrtle. He's also been striking the ball exceptionally well the last couple of times he's been out. Iron game has been solid. 14th in birdie or better percentage the last 24 rounds in this field. For some reason, this number seems very large to me, especially after his performance at Myrtle, a couple of weeks ago. So I
What's
like
the number?
Huh?
What number?
Under 10-1.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's like 150, 170 without the each way. You know what I'm saying? So I think he should. I don't even think he should be triple digits. Coming into this event with good finishes last year or good finishes here. I don't remember his course history. I could be wrong about that, but I know
he's got a 5th year in 2025.
He's got a 5th year, runner up last time out, and ball striking the ball extremely well. And then the last 2 are just absolute flyers. Lanto Griffin, 225-1 with 8 places, coming off his best finish on tour in a while. 13th at Myrtle, makes a ton of birdies every week, but his issues have been the big numbers. Pretty hard to get big numbers here at the Byron Nelson. And he's also I think he has 1 win in his career, and I'm pretty sure that was in Texas. I think he won in Houston back in the day. So I'll go ahead and throw a flyer at 225-1 with 8 places for Lanto. And this one's an absolute flyer. Taylor Montgomery, 225-1 with 8 places. Again, another guy who makes a ton of birdies, good from 150 to 200 and 200 plus, tends to do better in weaker field events, at least recently. Big time flyer there. So my betting card, it's big. The main card is Siwoo 20-1, 3 places. Koepka 30-5-1, 3 places. Eckroat 60-1, 8 places. Eric Cole 60-1, 8 places. Tom Kim 66-1, 8 places. The Bombs 80. The Shart is 80-1, 8 places. Vegas 110-1, 8 places. Hubbard 110-1, 8 places. Lanto 225-1, 8 places. Montgomery 225-1, 8 places.
Let's go. Beautiful, beautiful, Kenny. I'm riding the same wave with you with Vegas. We are also going to be going to the promised land with Jonathan Vegas in the top 5 market at 30-1 from FanDuel this morning. And then you can go and do a top 20 at plus 550 as well. Those all involve dead heats, but I'm doing the top 20 quite heavily. I've bet half a unit in total on Jonathan Vegas. We're going with 0.3 units to win 1.5 in the top 20 market. He has 2 top 20s as well this year, and they came at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Houston. Those are 2 kind of very compy kind of courses given the long iron intensity, driver heavy venues. That's where we're going to be going with Johnny Vegas all the way up to top 20 there, plus 550. Then we're going to be taking a peek at another name that you're going to see probably on a lot of cards is Michael Thorbjornsen. Found a 45-1 on him because I love the fact that we get a bit more long irons for the guy. He seems to really find his groove on those longer iron venues. Last week was not a surprise to see him struggle with a lot of wedges. He's just not necessarily the best from that range. From 200 plus, he ranks 10th in the micro model. So that's delightful to see. He checks 5 boxes this week of the 6. Again, it kind of just goes to show you how weak the field is when Michael Thorbjornsen's checking 5 boxes, being inside the top 20 of these various stats we've spoken about. So he does a lot of good work. I'll be looking for a top 5 number on him as well. I think, the heavy par 5 emphasis with most of these longer par 4s kind of giving you that same vibe. I love what he can do there. The 3 par 3s over 200 plus doing good work for Michael Thorbjornsen as well. If you're looking for someone that's really good off the tee when it comes to just playing good golf, Rio Satsune is just one of these steady Eddie guys. He doesn't necessarily pop as like a CJ Cup Byron Nelson kind of a play because he doesn't necessarily have tons of distance off the tee. He hits a lot of fairways. He's very good with his irons. He ranks out 20th in the micro model. I love what's going on with Rio Satsune. What's wrong, Kenny? I see you flinching.
I just got a notification. Garrick Higgo parts ways with caddy Austin Gogurt.
Caddy doesn't want to be associated with the
Caddy
brand.
was there on time. I think it's more of the caddies parted ways with the player.
Yeah, it seems very much the case.
I don't know exactly what happened, but that's the notification I just got.
Dude, that's so funny. It just goes exactly to show what we were talking about. I think it makes too much sense. That's good for him. Go find someone that's not going to cost you.
From the tee box, like, hurry the fuck up, get over here.
And we were all talking about what happens if he loses this thing by 1 stroke. Oh, well, he missed the cut by 1 stroke. Like that caddy now didn't get paid, so he did his best. Higgo boned him. So, yeah, I agree. Once again, I get it, very deserving. Back to Rio Satsune. I just love what he can get up to on the approach side of things as well. Grades out very nicely for this golf course. Tee to green, like we're mentioning, we're just looking for putter to show up at some point. It can, it can't. He's starting to find his groove, over the last 12, 8, 4, and 2 months. You can see he's just finding his groove quite nicely right now. And I like a lot of what he's getting up to this week at 50-1. So you can get a really nice number at Caesars there this morning. We were going to go there with Rio Satsune. And then I've got one more place for us to put some money down, and his name is Michael Brennan, because we showed you earlier how important it is to have good strokes gained off the tee here. If you take a look at that, he's kind of right on par with Scotty Scheffler when it comes to that department. 7th in the micro model ranking. We're going to get a lot of the heavy lifting done by Michael Brennan on approach and ball striking off the tee numbers. He won the Utah, the Black D. He went and won that bad boy, putted his brains out, hit a million fairways that were wide and easy to hit and with very little consequence for like near misses off the fairway. If you did blow it wide, you were in the lava. He managed to keep his golf ball and won in record fashion. I think he was by a touchdown or so that week. So he knows how to win on the PGA Tour, and he's 60-61 with the 5 places. There's 6 places actually on that one that you can get to. So he makes way too much sense. We're going all Jonathan Vegas ladder situation there with that betting market. And then, on back 9 bets, 3 Eastern, I will have top 40 bets, matchups, all of that kind of stuff coming through for us as we did last week as well. So I've been enjoying the top 40 market because I think there's some loopholes to be found in that situation. We'll be betting wherever I place top 40 bets on outright as well, personally, because they seem to just find the top of the leaderboard one way or another. We have a very interesting week ahead of ourselves, yeah, Kenny, when it comes to DFS blood, sweat, and tears for this week. We basically don't have a 10K range. It's a 14K range and then a 9K range with Scotty Scheffler. We're sitting at almost 15,000 at $14,800. Scotty Scheffler at plus 140, plus 170 to win this thing. No surprise, that price is out there. No one priced next is Siwoo Kim at $9,900. Thoughts about the situation?
I said it before. I think you should play Scotty in events with a cut. This might be a little bit too difficult. What I would suggest, if you MME and you think Scotty's going to win, if you're going to put 150 lineups out there and you have all the faith in Scotty, I would make 100 lineups with Scotty and just hope and pray that you pick the right guys in the 6K range. I think if you go MME, I think that's not the worst way to go about it. I don't play MME. I will be 5 lineups. I think if you're like me, I think it's too hard to roster because you got to find these hidden gems, at least 2 or 3 in the 6K range. And that's very, very difficult in a field this week. Could you get lucky? Sure. And that's why I think MME, if you make 150 lineups and do 66% Scotty, you'll be double the field, maybe even triple the field because of his price. And then you might be able to find the right, answers for people to play him with since you have 100 lineups to do it. Right. But if you're like a one single entry lineup or like 5 lineups, even less than 20 lineups or less, I think it's too difficult to roster Scott. So that would be my take on Scotty. MME, I think you go hard. I think you go 66% or higher. If you're making 150 lineups, go 100 Scotty. If you're not MME, if you're like 20 lineups or less, I think you got to avoid him. And so I'm avoiding him. What are you going to do with him?
I don't think it matters what contest you're playing Scotty Scheffler in this week because I just think he's priced fairly and wrong. Like, you can't build lineups around him because you are just missing out on too many middle of the pack guys. Because if you click Scotty Scheffler at $14,800, you have, I think, $7,040 left for 5 names. If you click the next 3 available names underneath Scotty Scheffler, Siwoo, Jordan, and Brooks, you click all 3 of those names, you got $6,900. You got $140 less on average for 3 names compared to having to have the rest of your lineup those guys. So the problem is Scotty's got to beat these guys by a large situation, and you are dealing with 5. I mean, if you're throwing an 8K guy in there, you're likely going to be looking at maybe 4 6K guys. That's the problem with the situation. This field is just not nearly good enough to give you the complementary pieces you need. Scotty Scheffler at $14,800. He was 13 cheap with a 5K range at the PGA Championship. Now, shittier field, 14.8 is insane. So I just don't think you can play competitively, lineup-wise with Scotty Scheffler. He's just not affording you the right pieces, because you're missing out way too many guys in the 9K range that ultimately will finish.
The thing about the 9K range, I think there's only 3 guys that are like steps, leaps and bounds above the field. I mean, you think about it, you got Keith Mitchell at 9,400. I mean, how different is Keith Mitchell from like Jonathan Vegas at 7,000? Like that gap is not that big.
Well, from a consistency perspective, yeah, saying. Maybe the ceiling, I get it, like a MME.
Saying, but like, you can't play those 3 guys with Scotty. It's impossible. And those are the 3 guys that are literally leaps and bounds above everybody else.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. So I understand what you're saying. But like, after that, everybody else is the gap between 9,400 and 7,000 in talent is very, very small. So that's one reason why I think it's possible to do if you MME.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. it would also be worth contemplating if you came in like in scorching hot Scotty form as well. You know, like we're not necessarily like we're fading him in the betting market. We are letting him win this tournament. You know, we're not taking the withouts. And, you know, I think the fact that you can just get so much more value now because if you aren't starting with Siwoo, Jordan, or Brooks, you have to click Keith Mitchell at $9,400. You know, Rio at Saturday. We're going to just see tons of value plays. I think maybe you got to almost dip into the 6K range if you are playing balanced, because then you at least got some of the names that in the Scotty lineups, because I think everyone's just going to get really comfortable playing fun lineups because the pricing seems soft now,
Well, one thing
considering what
I'll
you're starting
say
your lineups with.
from a game theory point of view for this week is if you don't roster any of the first 4 highest priced golfers, I mean, you're going to be different than like 80 to 90% of lineups.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to start with Spieth, Koepka, Siwoo, or Scott. So if you want to be different, if you're playing the lottery tickets, GPPs, I mean, a lineup without any of those 4 guys, probably a good way to go. If you're just worried about being different. And again, this is a birdie fest, and we see a little bit of variation, a little bit more variance and stuff like this. You know, these guys are good. When you give them easy conditions, they're going to play well. And sort of brings everyone together, unless it's Scotty and he wins by 6 or 7, right? Yeah. So if you want to be different this week, don't roster any of the first 4 highest priced golfers. I guarantee you 80% or more of the lineups will have one of those 4. And so basically, if those 4 shit the bed, you're only competing against 20% of lineups. Now, is that going to work out? I don't know. Because my first cash game cornerstone is going to be Siwoo Kim at $9,900. Talked about him, of course, in the betting segment. Stats are off the charts. He's had a runner up here. You know, if he's going to take one down, this one seems like the most likely because of the lack of strength of the field. The guy's been playing sticky events, you know, the majority of the time. He hasn't delved into one of these crappy events very often. Now with the numbers that he has and the form that he has, and even the course history that he has, I feel like this is a great shot for Siwoo to finally get the Korean no wins. You know, it's been a couple of years, and the last time a Korean won was Tom Kim, right? So it's been a while to try and get that off the board. So let's see if that can happen. But Siwoo's my first cash game cornerstone, and I'm going to go Koepka as my second cash game cornerstone. Again, you know, these two, you want 2 guys up here, I think, when it comes down to it. And you can't afford Scotty. Jordan is too crazy. Even though I'm going to play him. The 2 safest bets are going to be Siwoo and Koepka. And that's how I'm going to start my cash lineup. Again, you worry about Koepka's putting, but I think with his ball striking, you know, his floor is exceptionally high. And at that price tag, you know, I don't have a golfer in the 6K range with 2 guys here. So, you know, that's the way I'm going to go with, and I have 2 AK golfers. I think, no, I have 1 AK golfer to add with them. But I like Koepka and I like, Siwoo. They're going to be our first 2 cash game cornerstones. Jordan, if he's going to win something again, sort of like Siwoo, right? He doesn't play many of these crappy events that often. Weak field. The tee to green game has been there. I think I'm going to play Jordan. It's not locked, but I think I'm going to play Jordan.
Jordan's interesting, Kenny, because he's actually got like a really high floor. No one has more top 40s than Jordan apart from Scotty Scheffler this week in this field. So he's like
a mental thing when it comes to me and the variance. It's usually when you see him play, it's so crazy that you can expect anything to happen. That's why I don't trust cash.
It's crazy. You know, half the time he's inside the top 30, 52% of the time, but just doesn't have top 10s. That's the problem with Jordan. He's like,
one reason could be the people that he's been playing against, right? That could be a factor because he's usually playing, you know, sticky events, majors, events with really, really good fields. This is not that. I'm thinking about Jordan. We'll see. If I'm going to play a guy in the 9K range out of those guys, it'll probably be Davis Thompson. At $400. the tee to green has been very, very good for him. Like tee to green, I think he's 5th in tee to green, 5th in ball striking, and 8th in approach in the last 24 rounds in this field. Very good from 150 to 200. He's 8th in the field overall from 150 to 200. I can get on board on David Thompson. I don't know. Who do you like? I'm sure I think you like the two guys at the bottom, Cootie and Thorpe. I didn't really think too much of Cootie until you talked about him in your boxes segment. So I need to hear who you like in this 9 tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Cootie is just, I love the fact that he's driving it well. The hilarious thing is, for my rankings, I've only got, it's Pearson Cootie at $9,100 and then Rasmus Højgaard coming 4th for me. Like I've got Jordan Spieth, Brooks, and Keith Mitchell 12th, 6th, and 7th in the model. Like the names at the top aren't grading out statistically as well as you'd imagine, so I think you can start with Pearson Cootie and Rio Satsune, at 91 and you just pound $9,000, $8,000 names in there and see what happens, because Cootie just finished 25th here last year. And if you just take a look at what he's been up to this year, it's been so consistent. For a while on the West Coast, he was rattling off top 20 finishes like it was his job. And now we started seeing RBC Heritage, Cadillac, and Truist 16th, 38th, and 24th. So some big boy courses that, are very driver heavy to some degree on Cadillac and Truist side of things, started playing well. He plays his best golf on easy scoring conditions, gains 1.4 strokes on the field in that department. So Pearson Cootie at this price is going to be a name I roster quite a lot. If I didn't have an 8K StatFish, David Thompson would be my StatFish of the week at $9,200. Just he's 35th in the model. Like we all waiting for the pilot to bounce back. At this point, it's just not. But maybe this week it does, and everyone's on him with the ball striking, and he wins because he can win when he's done that. But he's got a 4% top 10 rate. He doesn't finish inside the top 10 nearly as much, and he's $9,200 this week.
I got him in 9th in my model.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're probably looking at a bit more recent form as well, Kenny. I also have about 15% of my weighting for this top 10, top 5 stuff, and he doesn't have enough of those to help him get elite upside, when it comes to.
Are there any golfers outside of the top 4 that have really high top 10 finishes here? Like who's the best top 10 percentage outside of the top 4 golfers?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So top 10 wise, here are your top 10 in the field. Scotty Scheffler at 82% of the time. Siwoo Kim, 31%. Neil Shipley, this is also counting KFT stuff from last year as well. 24%, we'll ignore that. Pearson
Looks like
Cootie.
everybody in the top 5 under Siwoo's KFT until you get the best.
Yeah, top 10 wise at least. Let's take a look. We got ADDC, Jeffrey Cag. Yeah, I know. That's a big deal, isn't it? Michael Thorbjornsen. John Parry's been playing a bit on the PGA Tour. Jordan Smith, Rasmus Højgaard, Maddie Schmidt.
Oh, that's major finish rates.
That is also, I've changed the formula. I promise it's actually just for this week. Okay. So, fun little segment here, just completely abolishing all of my metrics here, Kenny. But I promise it's just normal finish rates this week.
I'm sure some have like 10, 16. Those look pretty good.
Yeah, but like here's Michael Brennan that I had pulled up. He's only 6% of the time. There's a lot of guys ahead of these guys that have like a 4 or 5% top 5 rate. There's a lot of random guys that have found themselves in that situation over the last little while. Just Davis Thompson doesn't seem to land in that situation as much as he did. And this is someone that I watched him win at the John Deere Classic when I had a bet on him. So like I've watched him cash the live ticket and I know he can play, but if I'm down on him, it's because there's reason, so, and he typically is a little more popular than you find, I don't know why it's the ball striking numbers, I think people fall in love with that.
Popular all in the roster. If he's over 14% or something like that, I probably won't option. Like over 12.
Well, he's also $9,200, so maybe that helps keep that in check a little bit there too. But Michael Thorbjornsen, I mentioned how much I like the fact that he's got these long irons in his hand a little bit more. 33rd year last year, checks 5 of the 6 boxes this week, so he's hitting his driver well, hitting his irons well, checks course fit model, all of that stuff, and he's top 10 in the model rankings for $9,000 options. So I like him a lot there. I think there's a good chance I just sprinkle a $9,500 option and above in there. I don't like the fact that I'm going to be doing that, but I think your lineup just gets weird if you don't have one of those three names in there, like in my opinion.
I think I'm going to do my game theory lineup and not do anybody in the top four. That'll be my game theory lineup that I did. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to add this guy to my game theory lineup. Mike, hit the music. My hustler play of the week. It's going to be in the 8K range. It's going to be Wyndham Clark at $8,800. He's not a very likable guy. I think he sort of gets the Patrick Reed treatment when it comes to rostering percentage, ownership percentage. And he hasn't really been playing that great either. And so I don't expect him to be more than 12% tops, hopefully single digits. We'll see if he can pick up any steam, but his approach game has been solid the last couple of months. His bugaboo recently has actually been his putter, but he's looked good with the flat stick recently. Even with his putting issues, he's 10th in the field in birdie or better percentage over the last 24 rounds. He's also 10th in the field in tee to green in the last 24 rounds. That's going to be a theme for a lot of my golfers that I'm betting and rostering this week. I'm looking heavily at strokes gained tee to green, and I'm looking heavily at birdie or better percentage. And Wyndham Clark checks both those boxes. He's also, well above average from 150 to 200 and very good from 200 plus. Wyndham Clark will be my hustler play of the week. Other guys that I do like, I like Mac Meisner a lot. At 8,500, comes in 14th in my model. Another guy who's top 25 in strokes gained tee to green and birdie or better percentage in the last 24 rounds. I do like Meisner. He's really good from 150 to 200 yards as well. Bazidanu might be my favorite play in the 8K range.
You'd swear he was born in Texas, man.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to play well in his weaker field events. Steps his game up when the competition's not that great. His stats aren't going to be the best in the world. I think he comes in 50th in my model, but we saw a lot of Bez in your boxes, either inside the top 10 or like just outside, like 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
So I really do like Bez a lot this week. And I like Eric Cole. Eric Cole right now is in my cash lineup. I have him there.
Ooh.
Again, he's made a few cuts here recently. He's had a good finish here in the past. He had a good finish his previous time out at Myrtle. His tee to green is good, 36 in the field in the last 24 rounds. But his birdie or better percentage is 6 in the last 24 rounds. So like Eric Cole, I like Michael Brennan a lot too. Almost bet him. The guys that are almost I bet Wyndham Clark and cashed him out. So that could be a winner. I did that with Rattan a couple weeks ago. So that was awesome. If you guys didn't even hear, I ended up taking down that GPP that we talked about a couple of weeks ago for the PGA Championship. And Rattan was in that lineup. And of course I had him as a bet and I cashed him out. I think that's the second time it's happened this season. And so the guy I cashed out this week is Wyndham Clark. And Michael Brenner. So those are the two guys I cast out. So maybe one of those two guys win. But I do like both of those.
I hope it's Brennan. I'll take a Brennan W.
Week. Who do you like in AK range?
I like a lot of those names that you mentioned, Kenny. My favorite player is Rasmus Højgaard. He checks 5 boxes this week. So he's been popping off pretty hard when it comes to, just hitting his driver well. That's obviously what he does. Whatever his brother does well, he does well. Gains a lot with the putter, does a lot of heavy lifting off the tee distance-wise. Great iron player for this specific course with the long irons mixed in there. $8,900. He's easily a better performer on easy scoring conditions. He gains 1.4 strokes in easy scoring conditions. His next best metric is 0.8. So he drops off quite considerably when it's not a birdie fest. And it's mainly got to do with the fact that he's around the green play is the weakest part of his game. The more you're making birdies, the less you're chipping, because that's just how it goes. You make birdies by putting it in on the green with birdie opportunities. When you are chipping, you are trying to make pars. So the fact that makes a lot of sense is good to see from Rasmus's side of things. He's actually been playing a little worse than he has over the last 4 months, in the last 2 months, but I do think this course fit makes a lot of sense for Rasmus at $8,900. I don't know how popular he's going to be underneath Michael Thorbjornsen and Pearson Coody over there, along with my STATFISH of the week coming up here in the $8,000 range. By the way, shout out Bryson DeChambeau. It's our first $10,000 STATFISH of the week. We hooked a big prize king out of the water, and that STATFISH is ours. We're not catching and releasing that bad boy. It's going up on the wall. Bryson is the first official catch and non-release of the season for us. Yeah. So shout out to Mike Baxter, the producer of the show, for doing wonderful graphics in that department. This week's STATFISH of the week ranks 65th in the model in the $8,000 range. There are 6 boxes to check this week. He checks 0. He's only finishing inside the top 10, 8% of the time. When we're taking a look at his recent form the last little while, he is gaining 0.26 strokes on the field. Over the last 12 months, he's gaining 3/4 of a stroke on the field. Lately, it's only 1/4 on the field. When we take a look at what he does absolutely best at this golf course, it's strokes gained around the green. I believe if I filter on this right now, we are looking at him being the second best strokes gainer around the green this week. Again, if you are chipping, you are not making nearly enough birdies, your green regulation rates are not high enough, you're not getting enough strokes on approach, you're not doing enough with the putter. He's just not doing it all right now. Checks 0 boxes. Whenever he's in the mix, it looks like the wheels are going to fall off at any given moment. He even takes his pants off, rolls him up to his knees to take swings out of the most incredible par 4 golf holes at Quail Hollow to finish 5th there. Sungjae Im is this week's STATFISH of the week. Don't get caught up by the price tag this week. The stats don't check it out. Don't have him swindle you with a 33rd place finish here last year. That 5th place at the Truist and the 4th at the Valspar were divine intervention. If I've ever seen golf get played in that way, it was the way Sungjae was playing. Outside of that, he hasn't finished inside the top 40 since the Valspar. So the floor is abysmal. The ceiling is high, but at $8,700, Sungjae Im is just not giving me enough confidence. He doesn't check a single box this week. That's usually where we get the STATFISH of the week. He's a 0 box checker. Whew. Moving into the $7,000 range, that 8K range, like you mentioned, Kenny, is a boring. It's a very fascinating slate this week. I think you got to click lineups, people. Go and click and see and see where you keep falling on names, because then you can figure out how to go about it. Because rattling off names like this is easy, but we don't click them. When you have to put it to pay dirt, you have to put it to pay dirt. So at $7,900, Thorbjorn Oleson's in the mix here. We got Haotong Lee, Andrew Putnam withdrew, I think. ADDC at $7,400. Marty Doe, Jordan Smith, all in the $7,000 range. Kenny, what are we getting up to over here?
Yeah, I know you're talking about your STATFISH. My HOPENY Play of the week's been doing well too. I had Rom finish runner-up last week. I think Justin Thomas was top 15 the week before. HOPENY Play's been pretty good, so hopefully Lindeque could step it up. But in the 7K range, my third cash game cornerstone is going to be Tom Kim at $7,800. I'm making a lot of cuts, and that's what you want in cash. You're the goal actually in every lineup you make. The first goal in every lineup you make is to get 6 of 6. And Tom, I think, makes sense. He had, like I said, he had his best statistical performance in an event in Myrtle since the 2024 Travelers. His tee to green game and his birdie rate is solid. He's been trending up. I like Tom Kim as my third cash game cornerstone. My final cash game cornerstone is going to be Austin Eckroat at $7,500. Again, number 7 in my model. Tee to green has been excellent. Birdie or better has been excellent. Ball striking has been very good. A couple of top 20s heading into the event, and a runner-up here in 2023. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Siwoo at 99, Brooks Koepka at 96, Tom Kim at 78, and Austin Eckroat at 75. Eric Cole is in that lineup as well. And I also have Jonathan Vegas in that lineup. Byron talked me into him. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It was a little bit different earlier today. Instead of Koepka and Vegas, it was, I think, Bez and Blades, because I do like Blades at Blades Brown at $7,800. What we've seen from him is at these easy course events, the guys can make a ton of birdies. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes. He's playing, I mean, like the guy looks like he could be a stud. And with his birdie making prowess on a weak field event, I will not be shocked if he makes some noise this week. So I like Blades Brown at $7,800. Other guys I do like ADDC. I bet him. I talked about him in the betting segment. So I'm a fan of the Shart. Other guys, Hubbard at 7,200. Of course, you talked about in the betting segment also. Who do you like in the 7K range?
I'm going to scoot from the bottom up. Trace Crow's checking a lot of boxes from what he's getting up to on the KFT as well a little bit. He's one of these guys that can send the driver and then deal with it from there. I think he's 7,000 flat. If you're taking a look at another course fit like Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, keeps breaking my heart, but he's got potential course fit wise. He can ball strike this place to death at $7,200. If you're taking a look at like Johnny Kiefer at $7,300, if you think about what happens on the KFT, making a million birdies, driver intensive venues, he hits it quite far. He finished third at the Houston, the Johnny Kiefer. So I like to see that from him. At $7,300, Chris Kirk finished 44th at the PGA Championship, but he gained over 2 strokes ball striking for each round in the first 3 days and then lost a bunch of strokes on Sunday. So the fact that Chris Kirk was gaining 2+ strokes ball striking Thursday, Friday, Saturday has me feeling good going into this week, knowing that he can play well at a golf course like this, lost in a playoff at the Rocket Classic, so he can go low if he needs to. John Parry at $7,300 checks some boxes for me as well. He's an DP World Tour rookie doing his thing. ADDC checks some boxes, and Marty Doe making a lot of hay in the 14 model ranking spot there for me. So the 7K range is filled with guys that you can kind of float in there. Again, don't have to
go like 7 flat. I sort of like Zach Blair at 7,000. He's had a spike week or two this year. The iron game is strong. Actually, hilarious enough, he's first in strokes gained approach in the last 24 rounds in this field. I'm sure some of that goes back a little bit far. But he's also 11th in birdie or better percentage and 23rd in strokes gained tee to green. Again, looking at those two, that combo, that tee to green birdie or better percentage combo is something that I like doing this week. And Hayden Springer right underneath them, 32nd in tee to green and 16th in birdie or better percentage.
Yeah. No, there's some fun names. Tom Hoagie just finished 26th at the PGA Championship as well. He's got a 17th place at this golf course in the past. Other finishes are 41st and 43rd, so that's 3 made cuts the last 3 times he's played here at 7K flat. It can give you some relief in that department. In the $6,000 range, Kenny Kim, we've got Matt Kuchar, we've got Garrick Higgo, we've got Chandler Blanchet, Taylor Montgomery, Cameron Champ, Jimmy Stanger, names you are finding of interest in the $6,000 range this week.
First one's probably going to be Pontus Nyholm, right? Again, 30th in tee to green, 26th in birdie or better percentage. He had a good little run like about a month and a half ago. Let's see if we can come back from that. I do like Taylor Montgomery and Lanto as like GPP flyers down here just because of their birdie rate and how often they make birdies at this course. Not many options here. I don't know how much I will delve into the 6K range since I am not playing Scotty. But those 3 are the ones that catch my eye off the top of the break.
Someone that is checking some really interesting boxes for me is Neil Shipley at $6,600. He checks 3 boxes, and one of them is the fact that he's like pretty damn good off the tee, and everything else is atrocious for him. So the fact that the first domino to fall is off the tee play, and then you start getting a little longer iron situation going on, he's a much better longer iron player than he's a short iron player. I like that for Neil Shipley as well. And then the fact that he scores 1.5 strokes on the field in easy scoring conditions. His other metrics, he's -0.9, -0.4. And then in hard conditions, he gains 0.8. So if we can get some easy scoring conditions that is a driver-heavy venue, Neil Shippey just needs a bit of confidence. I mean, this guy's very, very talented. I don't know what, if you go take a look at his like profile page, since he's got on the PGA Tour, he's completely forgotten how to golf. So he was balling out on the KFT. That's how he got his card, is by playing fantastic golf down there. So this course fits him quite nicely. I'm going to be looking into him significantly. And then just if you're looking from like someone that's got an elite skill set, Christo Lamprecht at $6,500 is the second longest. Well, I guess he's the longest in the field now that Aldrich's withdrawn. So you can find him doing some wonderful things with the driver at $6,500. You never know what he can get up to. He does have a couple 60th and 49th place finishes in his last two starts. So making some cuts, even at golf courses that don't make that much sense at the Valero. So that's where we're going over there. I've kind of got a little cold with Colin Morikawa at the Masters as my one and done. I wasn't super comfortable with many live guys, and John Rahm came through as a chalk smash. Tough scenes, not ideal. So what are we doing a one and done situation this week, Kenny?
I don't know. I'm looking at like Tom Kim. I'm looking at Blades. I'm looking at Bezuidenhout. I'm looking at Meissner. So those are the guys I think I'm going to look at heavily as the week goes on. I'm not going to use any of the top guys. It's going to be somebody who's basically, not an elite player. Maybe Wyndham Clark down there. I haven't really made any decisions yet.
Yeah. It may be Michael Brennan for me. It will be one of my outrights, most likely, that I'm going with one and done wise. It's a weird week. You're not making tons of money. You can't lose tons of ground, but you can sneak up the leaderboard if you do find the winner. In a week like this, it's kind of difficult to find the winner. If you're using Scotty Scheffler this week, people, that is like an unspoken do not. Just do not do that. So play him at the Memorial with me. I think that's where he's going to win his first tournament of the year. That's it from us on this show today. Please use code FGD when signing up as a first-time depositor over at DraftKings, the sponsor of our show, the one that you're hitting the like on, the one that you're hitting the subscribe button to. We really appreciate that. Just a small click here and there goes a long way for the two of us, the three of us, doing this stuff at the various times that we do it. We really appreciate all of that from you guys. Be sure to use code Byron26 if you want 50% off anything Model Maniac Patreon related. I'll get that to you there. And make sure that you are having a blast this week. I'm going to get us over to Kenny to get us the hell out of here.
You ever played any golf, Byron?
No, I've been busy, Kenny. We're like trying to sell the house potentially. We've gone from adding onto the house to now selling the house. So Caitlin's got softball season stuff that begins, and she's still teaching. So like finding someone, but on Thursday, I will be playing golf again. So we'll see how it goes.
I played 63 holes this weekend. I almost played as many holes as the damn real golfers did this weekend. I played 10 rounds in the last 16 days. I'm about to lose my job probably. So that's why I'm getting ready to be unemployed. So I'm trying to practice by playing balls as possible to practice for when I'm on. By the company I'm working for might be going under. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I think I'm going to take the week off, take a month off, and just play golf as much as possible. Once I'm just going to ride it out till the paychecks stop coming, and then just take a month
go from there. Yeah. Well, good luck. It sounds like a fun journey for you, Kenny. A lot of us.
It's not 40 on the back yesterday. I missed 2 3-footers, and I had a double.
And shot a 40.
Shot 40.
Jeez, hey.
5 pars, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you never know where you land up. You might be playing champions.
Just got to remember, the big thing for me is the club face. I guess that's got to be my last thought. Make sure that club face is square every time, and then don't just stop it here, like square 6 inches past the ball. That's my final swing thought. Make sure your club face is square 6 inches past the ball before you come back and make your turn. And it helped me because Saturday was bad. I think I shot 54 on the front, like my worst 9 holes in over a couple of years. And then on the back, I sort of caught something again and shot 42. It was hilarious because I was playing skins with my boy. He was up 9-0 on the front, like $45. We're playing 5 skin. You're up $45. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then we tie every hole until we get to 18, and I birdie 18.
Let's go.
Birdie extra skin. So I end up beating him 10-9.
Let's go.
Even though his score was like 86. I think I was like 90, 96. I think he shot like 84 maybe. And I shot like 96. I did shoot 42 on the back.
You got to play the game that's in front of you, Kenny.
Yeah.
You know?
But I need to win a GPP so I want to get the new GTS 4. I want to get a mini driver. I want to get a new 3 hybrid. And I want to get a 6 hybrid. So I'm going to need
you may want to stay employed.
I'm going to need like $2,000. I mean, fuck it. I have enough money saved.
I'm joking. No.
With like assets and stuff like that. I could probably not work for 2 years. Now, granted, I'm not going to do that. But it would be cool. Like if I had like 2 years left to live, it'd be like the perfect time.
I mean, go to all your doctor's visits now, Kenny. You might have the perfect situation.
But we'll see. All right. Follow me on X at KendoVT. If you want to play golf I play with a couple of internet friends in the last couple of weeks. So as long as you're not like a serial killer and you don't mind me posting who I'm playing with so they know who murdered me if I die, you hit me up and I will play golf with you. But week after a major, we get a cut. It's fun for DFS. It's different. It should be a good time. A Korean is going to win. I'm going to be hyped. Let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.